Hi, Aquarius, Sun and Rising. Welcome to your January 2021 Astro Update. It's Rena here. So, January is a month that is before your solar return. Even if you're born in January, the sun is in your 12th house until the date of your birth. Or should I say the day? I'm always like, oh, what is it? And happy birthday for those of you who are early Aquarians. And this is a time, I mean, even if you are born in February, you probably will start to feel more and more energized as January continues, especially, after the sun goes into Aquarius on the 19th. That's actually what I was referring to. And so as the month begins, the sun is in that 12th house. Maybe you've been feeling a little bit run down, or at the very least contemplative and not as social as you tend to be. Maybe you've kind of gone into hermit mode. You also have Mercury in that 12th house, so maybe doing a lot of soul searching, reflecting on 2020 and what that has been like for you. And on the 6th of the month, Mars goes into Taurus. Now, Taurus is another fixed sign like Aquarius. And so it's going to hit one of your angular houses. Now, I do want to remind you that this is a general forecast. So when Mars goes into 0 degrees of Taurus, it isn't going to go into every Aquarian's fourth house of home and family. For some people, for probably a lot of people, it's going to be continue to be in the third house. But I'm saying this pretending that all of you have 0 degrees of Aquarius, sun or rising. So going into that fourth house of home and family, Mars is a very aggressive energy. Now, it's possible that this will be, manifest on dealing with your real estate. So if you're doing some kind of construction work on your house, or maybe an addition, or, rehabilitate, what do they call it? Rehabbing, building a new kitchen or something like that. Maybe it'll just be like that. But for some of you, this can be dealing with family matters. And so, they often talk about the fourth house and the father, and I refuse to go along with that. I say that the fourth house is the mother. But we can just say the family of origin and make it maybe more accurate and make it more universal. And Mars can be like this kind of contentious situation with the family of origin. Now we're coming off of Christmas, coming off of the holidays, and sometimes things get stirred up at that time when you're dealing with them more. But it doesn't have to be something bad. It can just be more activity, that you're spending more time doing things, but there's an active quality to it. What else? Maybe a possibility is getting a house ready for sales. If you're going to sell your home and you want to get it prepared for that sale. I'm trying to think of anything else that I could say about that. Well, I think that covers it. On the 8th, we have Mercury going into your sign. I always say that I like when Mercury goes into a person's sign, because they can, because especially when the sun is also there, the person can present themselves in a way that is most aligned with who they are, and communicate that. And this is especially important for Aquarians, because you tend to I don't know if this is true, but I would think you tend to get misunderstood sometimes. And so being able to convey what you stand for, who you are, can be very important, especially if you're looking for a job or if you're looking for love, where you're, getting to know somebody better and just, telling them things about yourself. So that's happening a couple days after Mars going into that fourth house. On the same day, the 8th, we have Venus going into Capricorn. So Venus is going into the 12th house. Venus, therefore, has been in the 11th house for a week, which is your house. So I wanted to just kind of mention what that can mean. Venus in the 11th house can be finding love through your social network or through a group that you belong to. It can be having some kind of money come to you that is connected to a dream that you have had. I'm talking about an aspiration, or that you can fulfill something because you're getting money. Maybe getting money from a friend, or being able to capitalize on your friendships and your social connections to benefit you financially. But if this is connected to love and Venus is going into the 12th house, you may be a little bit private about this. The 12th house can be rather secretive. And you may not want other people to know that you and this other person have gotten together. So let's say you were introduced to somebody through a friend of a friend, or just at a party or something like that, and you share mutual friends. You may not want everybody to know that you guys are together for whatever reason. And you're keeping this romance on the down low. Maybe it's just for the time being, but it might just, there might be some reason why you don't want people to know. Now, sometimes Venus in the 12th house can be meeting somebody that seems like a soulmate to you. It can also be having an affair where there is either you or the other person, but even if the other person is cheating on their spouse, you likewise have to be very discreet about it, and maybe not be seen in public, or something like that. On the 13th, we have a new moon in this 12th house. And so the 12th house is featured as well as the first house in January. What this suggests to me is really, wrapping up certain cycles and starting new ones. And also, the 12th house can be like the womb of creation. So if there are things that you are wanting to birth with your new solar cycle, ideas, for instance. So having Mercury in that 12th house may give you that idea of like, what are the things that I want to accomplish, but taking it at the deepest level, which has to do with your spiritual connection. The first house is the house of the body, the house of the self. So it's kind of like there's a very stark contrast between the 12th and the first houses. The first house is making something manifest into the physical, but it always, even though something is at the end of a cycle, it still is a circle. So cycle, circle, get it? So there's no end. It's just going around and around. And so, it's almost like an illusion to say, okay, this is wrapped up. Now we're on to something new, because it's just like endless. And just like when we talk about lifetimes, okay, is this it? Is this the last lifetime? Or is it like a continuum? Okay. A new moon in the 12th house can be a time when you feel compelled to start a spiritual practice. I do want to note that this particular new moon is also forming a conjunction with the transiting Pluto, which is in your 12th house. Very, very interesting. So Saturn has finally left the 12th house for you. Again, this is a general forecast, so for a lot of you, it may still be in that 12th house, but, ideally, we would say that. And so Saturn is considered one of the heavies in astrology along with Pluto. And so at least it's kind of lightening things up a little bit, but you still have Pluto there. And Pluto is really I think Pluto in the 12th house can be awesome for destroying karma, And when I say karma, I mean, karma means action. So ostensibly, we have what we say cause and effect. Okay. And that happens in this lifetime. It isn't just from the past lifetime. And it's also not punishment. It's just like there's cause and effect. You drop a glass from a high place and onto the pavement, and it's going to break. It's not a punishment if it breaks. It's just a law of gravity. And what the composition is of the item that, is breaking. But the same thing applies to our actions. It depends on what we're doing, our intention of those actions, and the result that we have. So that's one of the reasons why it's so important to be intentional in what we do and not being unconscious. The 12th house can lend itself to unconscious patterns. And a lot of times I feel that these unconscious patterns are coming from other lifetimes or from very, very early in childhood. Because we set the table, we set the stage. And I'm also talking about the way that we are raised, the way that parents or other caretakers treat us, raise us, has to have a major impact on what it is what we do. I mean, it stands to reason. And so therefore, when we're children, when we are teenagers even, we are still kind of like just reacting to life. We don't really believe we have much power because we're young and we are, legally under somebody else's thumb. But once we get out on our own, it becomes more and more of our own ball game. And even people who still are dysfunctional into adulthood begin to gradually understand what they're doing. Maybe it's just a very minor, sense of awareness, but it starts to sink in that nobody's there to. No, you can't blame other people, after a certain point. You have to take responsibility for your own life. So the reason I'm saying this is that I feel like Pluto can be a great source of empowerment about how to deal with past life karma. You don't even have to get regress to know what some of these issues are. All you have to know are what the recurring themes of your life are that are challenging. And, so if you say to yourself, why do I always get involved in relationships where I am dominated by the other person? I mean, they say I chose my parents. Okay, whatever. Now that's done. But I certainly don't remember choosing them. So what about, my 3 husbands that I've had? They've all been abusive to me. Okay, well, at a certain point, I have to take responsibility for that. It's not victim blaming. It's saying that what they did was wrong, but I also seem to have a certain type. And not everybody has that type. Am I just having, terrible luck, or is something going on where I'm attracted to certain characteristics that are actually very problematic. So let's say you're a heterosexual woman and you're always attracted to very boyish men, and you just love that kind of man. Maybe he's kind of dependent, and it makes you feel powerful because you had a father who was very authoritarian, like the emperor in the tarot. And maybe he's even a Pisces. Maybe your Venus or Mars or both are in Pisces and you're attracted to Piscean men. And he's very boyish, and that is just so appealing to you, that kind of a youthful vibe, even if he's 50 years old and he just still hasn't gotten it together. And you're kind of like, you kind of overlook that and you take care of him and blah, blah, blah. But you don't have an equal relationship. You get frustrated because sometimes you feel like he's irresponsible and so on and so forth. So these are kind of things. It doesn't even have to be abusive. It can just be that there's a dysfunctional pattern in the relationship. Maybe it's some kind of addictive situation where you're with one alcoholic or pothead after the other. And there's all kinds of things that can happen there. It's not judging that person. It's saying that there can be other things. You may not have good communication. It may be very frustrating to be with somebody who's like that. So that's what I'm referring to here. And how do we break these patterns? Well, that can be 12th house stuff. And that can be something that is very gratifying to be able to feel that sense of breaking free from these patterns. So I know I went on and on about that, but I just felt like it's important. And with this conjunction, and because this is what I was going to say, once in a lifetime type of thing. What I mean by that is this is a new moon in conjunction with Pluto. Now, Pluto has a long cycle of 15 years. It's a generational planet. So it being in your 12th house doesn't happen to all signs, okay? Doesn't happen to all people in their lifetime. So this is a wonderful opportunity to kind of transcend this so-called karma and feel self-empowered. Even if you're taking those tendencies, you can flip the script and you can make them into great things. Like somebody who's attracted to a certain type of person, maybe you're very compassionate person. The 12th house is a house of sacrifice. Maybe you're working in a financial type of profession where it's very lucrative, but you've always had that humanitarian bent where you wanted to help others. This may be the time when you kind of make that vow that you're going to serve others more. This can be great for spiritual, a new spiritual discipline as well. On the 14th, we have Uranus, which is your ruler, direct at 6 degrees of Taurus. I've been pointing out here that I think that this is a turning point. It's interesting too because this is the point where all the planets are direct. Now, I guess right after this, Mercury starts going into its shadow. I don't know. That seems kind of anal, and I don't do shadows too well because I feel like, it's too easy to get caught up in that. But I do feel that it is significant that on the 14th, all the planets are direct right after that new moon, the day afterwards. So it's like, to me, a very powerful between this time and the end of the month when Mercury actually turns direct or retrograde. So at this time when your ruler turns direct, maybe you'll feel like you're not haywire as much. I don't know. I don't know if that affects you personally, but in any case, it's in the sign of Taurus, and it's at the same degree as Mars when it turns direct at 6 degrees. So I've been interpreting this to mean a sense of what I would say a call, a cry for freedom at any cost. Like even someone who might be cautious just says, to hell with it. I need, what's that saying? Thomas Paine, give me free. Well, I don't want to say give me freedom or give me death. That's a little bit much. But anything that has to do with freedom above all else. For you, this is that fourth house. Now, if you're somebody who has been feeling like, let's say you're renovating a home and you're just up to here, perhaps because Uranus has been here, you have been feeling this, desire to break free from something that is domestic for a long time. This may be the rallying cry at this, mid-January, where you just feel like you're done and you're just ready. And it's interesting because I always talk about Aquarius being such a contrarian sign that it tends to bring contradictory tendencies within you. A part of you is very contrarian. You don't want to be like everybody else. If somebody else is doing something, you want to do the opposite. Or, just do your own thing. But at the same time, you're a fixed sign, so it can be hard to actually make changes. When you do, you tend to surprise everybody around you, including yourself. So this may be an example of that. So breaking free of a domestic situation, I would say if you are married, even though this is not the seventh house, it certainly could. Speaking of which, this is going to involve a full moon in that seventh house. So it could definitely involve a marriage type of situation. I'll just keep going, but yeah, anything domestically connected. On the 19th, the sun goes into your sign, so that sense of self-empowerment, feeling like you're in your own element, the sun in conjunction with your natal sun. And then on the 28th, we have the full moon at 9 degrees of Aquarius, at Leo, sorry about that. And that is the seventh house of committed partnership. Yes, a lot of you will probably actually have this in your sixth house of work. So it might be something along those lines. But in general, this, and either way that you might be done with something either work related or if it's connected to your relationships in the seventh house. In the seventh house, Leo is the ruler of that seventh house for you. And a relationship may have run its course and you know it and you're okay with it. You really are honoring yourself. The sun is in your sign in your first house. You're honoring yourself. And so that's okay. Now, sometimes this may be actually getting engaged or getting married. It could be the two polar opposites because a full moon can bring something to fruition. So maybe you have been with somebody and perhaps you've been monogamous, but you've gone all, as far as you can in this, whatever this relationship is, whatever the status is of this relationship, and now you're ready to really commit. Maybe you're ready to move in together. Maybe you're ready to get married. If you've been dealing with some kind of legal matter, this could bring it to its completion. On the 30th, we have the Mercury retrograde at 26 degrees of Aquarius. So for many of you, this will be in the first house. Most of you. And this is you rethinking something about yourself and about your life in general. The first house can be like a catch-all for your life. And that it certainly could be connected to a serious relationship. It's coming just 2 days after that full moon in the, in the seventh house. And by the way, whenever there is a full moon, the sun is forming an exact opposition. So you're always going to have it engage you personally and maybe make you think about something. So that may be something that you're mulling over, something personal to you in your life. Okay, that's what I have for you, Aquarius. I hope that you enjoyed this. If you'd like a private reading to look at 2021, to look at analysis of your natal chart, please visit me at rainamoonastrology.com. The link is below. Take care. Bye.